recording. Stream time. Going live with episode 32 of Beyond the Fourth Wall. In 3, 2, 1, we're live.
Oh dear.
Huh. But yeah, for some contents, we were just doing some pre-stream updates to characters and getting armor and stuff that's not necessarily needed to be shown on stream, because we've shown it a couple times on stream before.
Max.
And unfortunately, one of us is bougie enough to actually afford the finer things.
That's true.
Yep.
True.
For once, Rari isn't the one holding as many coins.
Yeah, because I've been stockpiling that massive-ass sapphire.
Real.
I could watch my own stream and then stream me watching my own stream.
That would give me a headache as the
Crap.
feedback.
Streaming streams.
Streaming streams that are streams.
I really don't think you need any other enchantments on this, especially because it's already +2 resilient.
True.
But if you find a metal that you can actually afford to have it be made out of, then you could certainly do that.
Which, I mean, that would probably be down to most standard or low-grade material.
So you're not having it made. I'm gonna assume you're gonna go with anything that's iron-based, because you could just summon that.
Well, I can't summon star metals, I think, because I have to be able to just summon the pure item.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like cold iron, sovereign steel, stuff like that.
Yeah. I could summon silver, because that's like regular ass metal too. So it's not like alloyed. Because silver can just be silver.
That's true.
If it's an unalloyed thing, I can summon.
Bruh, I try to go into traits and it's like, you only have 2 traits, rare and uncommon.
Wow.
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 Right.
Wow.
Wow. Last time
Sovereign steel
on
is actually too expensive.
Beyond the Fourth Wall, we left you guys off on the capital of the United Republic of Holgia. And
Yes, we are in the capital city.
we are in the capital city. And you had discovered that the crazy wizard that summoned the Necrostorm somehow maybe managed to infiltrate the local governing body of this country.
Oh boy.
In preparation to face him and try and get him evicted from the country and the government as a whole, you consulted many a magic caster, not limited to, but including Cyrus's grandmother and Granny herself. In which you commissioned Granny to put a curse on this man. That he will face certain doom within at any time within the next 4 days.
Huh.
Yep, that's the hope.
You could get your chain mail made out of stone.
I feel like that defeats the purpose of chain, but you know.
I just love the fact that, like, it's like, oh yeah, cold iron, silver armor,
Wait, actually,
adamantine armor, and then it's just stone.
there is actually a rune that is usable on this to a very good degree.
Oh?
Shadow. Bonus to stealth checks. That is possible.
Shadow rune.
I'll think about this later.
Okay. Well, with that being said, you do have a basic invisible chain shirt
Yes.
that you are going to spend 2,750 gold on.
Damn.
Means I pretty much sell that entire sapphire
Yep.
to someone for money. Now, I mean, I
Honestly,
remember you said I could easily get 2.5 for it, or if I go for the bougie market, I can get like 4K.
honestly, if you want to simplify it and give yourself one less hypothetical stop, you could just barter, give whatever craftsmanship, trader, whatever, the sapphire, and they'll just give you the armor.
Okay, word. That removes like 2 bulk from my inventory too, so
Yeah, that was a big fucking sapphire.
it's a big ass sapphire.
Alright, you now have the invisible chain shirt. Congratulations.
And now no one knows I'm wearing armor.
Unless they can see invisible objects.
Looks at Granny.
She can, in fact, see a lot of things.
Invisible objects probably included.
Probably. Maybe. Duzon, Rari, Cyrus. We resume from our imaginary shopping trip. Back to the tense situation of what are we gonna do?
So, the curse will take effect 1 to 4 days, possibly. Although, we have no way of telling unless we follow the wizard around and don't get caught. Any other ideas?
I must admit, I am left with little options, if any, to think of.
Cyrus? Any thoughts? Any other or better options?
Not that I can actually think of offhand.
Okay.
Little
So I
Flame
guess we're
starts
going.
tugging on your pants. Well, actually, you and Little Flame are roughly the same size, so Little Flame just waves his hand in front of your face.
Oh,
This is
yes, Little Flame?
He holds his hand out. Fire.
Burning him would be a
I-
great idea, except he's too powerful to burn just off the cuff. We need that curse to weaken him, so that we could kill him.
Little Flame just squints at you, doubtingly.
No, I can understand him. You can have him talk, and and it can be translated easily enough.
This is more fun.
Uh,
He then just closes his
Well-
hand, and you see a little wisp of smoke.
I mean, we could cause hysteria, but then obviously that would. And we would have provoked the crowd too soon, or too late. If only I knew more about the arcane to figure out when a curse could take.
Little Flame points to Cyrus.
Not my specialty.
Why? Hell. Would your grandma know how to divine whether this curse takes hold?
Usually that's the caster's discretion, most times. or predetermined things.
But Granny doesn't want to give all of the secrets away. That's the problem. Well, to be fair, we do have to somewhat earn it.
If I can hedge a guess at what spell she used, I might be able to give a time frame, but that's about it.
And from what we recall last session, you tried to recognize what spell she used,
and I almost did, but I did not.
You almost recognized it, but like Granny uses very dark magic.
Yep. Like if I remember correctly, I was like only like 1 or 2 off, and that was like with a really good.
I believe, from what I remember correctly, you were short by like 4.
Either way, that's still pretty close.
Yeah, considering. So, you knowing more about the upper crusts of Hogia, where do folks like him typically reside?
See, the jury is still hidden. Let's see.
The regents or the council. Any information we can know where he frequents would be good about now.
The DM?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How much of that specifically would I know?
Make me a society roll.
Okay. Society. 29.
While it's hard to tell down to the specific individual, especially one that's crazy enough to attempt to either take over the world or summon a necrostorm,
Yeah, at the very least, council members would be probably discretion's the better part of valor as to where they live.
discretion very much is a part of valor, especially with this area, because the council members live somewhere within the castle. You know that the council members would most likely either live somewhere inside of the castle itself, that way if an emergency council meeting is needed, they could just be there.
They're just there.
Or they live in an undisclosed location very close to the center of the city, which is where the castle is.
Well, judging by the fact that he's council, he has to be at least near the city center and castle. Council members are required to be within some distance of the castle for emergencies.
Joy.
If he's not just outside the castle, he's inside it. But that kind of information is kept well hidden.
Understandably. How, pray tell, do we follow a councilman in one of a more highly guarded, highly secure place such as a castle? The curse could be taken hold anywhere in that place.
Usually for such a well-constructed building, a prophecy of certain doom, such as like a chandelier falling, if you know what you're looking for, you'd spot it a mile away.
Right, but I think Granny's magic is much more than just one chandelier falling. Maybe
Well, yes,
he
but
likes
that's just an example.
being
that
in
is
the
to
jaws
say-
of a dragon, or being slowly dissolved by something.
That is to say, the effects of such a curse will be subtle until made manifest.
So we're looking for
So it could
omens
be
and wonders.
So it could be something as simple as a screw coming loose. To, like I said, the chandelier example.
So then how do we get in? I could sneak in, but then when I get caught, I'd be arrested. And there's a whole litany of problems with that outcome. But what other choices do we have?
You get invited into the castle, for one.
Yes, because a kobold dressed like a commoner could totally get an audience with anyone in the castle. I don't even think I could even get an audience with a butler, let alone anyone of importance.
Well, the fastest way to get the audience with the butler is to just knock on the door.
Rari's never been in the castle.
Rari's only looked longingly at the castle from across the entire city.
Dreaming of all the goodies he could take. Yeah, I mean, borrow.
That's
Or
not quite a
loan.
bad idea. First person who usually answers the doors is the staff. Or you could pose as one.
A disguise?
You would not be out of place.
But do they even hire kobolds for such a thing?
They could.
I grew
Everyone
up
needs
on the
work.
streets. I suppose if we could come up with a disguise, I could work it out.
Duzon's a
Maybe
different issue.
a new butler and everything. A little goofball of a butler until I really learn the ropes.
Whereas you can blend in the help and I can simply just blend in. Duzon's a different problem entirely.
Unfortunately, yes, Duzon would stick out.
Yes.
He could oversee the garden rooms if there's a garden room in the castle, or
Well, there's always a
No.
courtyard and a garden, but
but then he won't be able to swoop in if we need him.
getting him inside would probably require somebody's invitation. Or at the very least, a document that could prove that he belongs there, if only temporarily.
You mean like a document that can, like a convenient document saying that he needs audience with, say, the leaders of Hogia?
That would work. The other thing I can think of, since you are a paladin, yes? Duzon?
Yes.
Perhaps if you
Yes.
find the rest of your faith's clergy, they could help you get a way in.
Their temple is miles from here.
They have many temples.
The nearest temple is miles from here. To my knowledge.
I was about to say, how true is that actually?
To his knowledge, the only one that he personally knows of and has been to is all the way the fuck down in, like, dwarvish country.
Right. But to the people who've lived here's knowledge.
You're gonna have to roll society for that.
Society.
I also roll society to see if Rari, through his many different,
I mean, you've been around the streets more than
Musings.
I have, so you probably have a much easier time discerning this.
if I see a bunch of nature worshipping, people.
Okay, so I'm gonna need 2 rolls from the both of you, actually.
Okay.
The first roll I'm gonna need is society, then I'm gonna need a diplomacy. Because you are making an effort to gather information, and this is going to take time.
For my society, I got a natural 20 plus 15, so that's a 35.
Okay.
And
My
for
society is
my
only 31.
What was the other roll?
You're gonna need to
Diplomacy.
make a diplomacy
Diplomacy?
check.
Okay, so I got.
Wait,
18 on the die
before
plus
you tell me
4.
what it is, I'm going to warn you this now. If you commit to doing this, it's going to take a minimum of 2 hours of your time.
And what time of day currently is it?
That's a good question.
Because that will determine whether Rari.
Because building a butler disguise for Rari shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's probably like early-ish morning, like, cause you guys arrived here by a shipping vessel,
Right.
and they move fast, or at least as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah. And that was even sped up with magic item.
So I'm
Right.
gonna say it's gonna be early morning. Like the
Early
sun
morning.
is just starting to rise.
Okay. Then
It's
that
going to be a little
works.
higher in the sky because you've taken time to visit people, cash in favors, make deals. So I'm going to say it's like if early morning is 7 o'clock, it's probably like 10.
Okay. So 2 to 3 hours from like sunrise.
And then Granny's casting was the last major event, so from 10 to unknown is the curse is currently taking.
From 10 to anywhere between 1 to 4 days from 10.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I think it would be worth it. What do you think, Cyrus?
It would. I think it would be a fair use of our time to get in without triggering alarms.
Okay. So I'm gonna
Because
go.
the biggest caveat is getting Duzon in. You could hide easily. I can pretend I belong. Duzon does not have either of those graces.
Quick, use on camouflage. Okay. Picks a tree. Literally
Okay.
roots himself into
Doesn't
the
work
ground.
indoors.
Enters hypersleep.
Congratulations, you've entered hypersleep. You can no longer wake up.
Oh nah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually rolled pretty good for the diplomacy.
For my diplomacy, I got an 18 plus 13, so that is math that I currently am calculating because I can't do it in my head right now. 31.
And what'd you get for your diplomacy, Cyrus?
See, I don't have any bonuses like that, so it is literally simply a 16. The caveat is though, I do have courtly graces.
And what does that do?
You are raised among nobility and have learned proper etiquette and bearing, allowing you to present yourself as a noble and play games of influence in politics.
So are you
Unless I'm
using...
intentionally presenting differently, anyone who speaks with me will assume I am a noble or closely associated with the nobility. That's
So-
just default. And then there's a thing to make impressions, but that's not what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you are gathering information. So are you going to use your
Yeah.
information gathering time to try and find the worshippers that may be in the castle? Or are you going to try and find the worshippers that are just out and about?
Considering I know where my strengths lie, probably the bougie zone.
Alright, then I'm going to go with Rari first.
Okay.
Some of those
Rari,
clerics are bougie.
Yes.
with your nat 20 in your society, you know that the general nature worshipper of any kind wouldn't be caught dead in the center of a city.
Mm-hmm.
So they're either going to be outside of the city entirely or on the city edges if they really have to be.
City edges, outskirts of towns, where the most natured typically would be.
And with your
'Cause I figure.
with your diplomacy, you're able to hear say and hear talk of Oh, the worshippers of Borealis, about a mile or about like 4 or 5 miles out of town, are gonna be doing some type of ritual. Or oh, I hear the nature worshippers are having a little celebration. Isn't that cute?
Oh, great. 4 to 5 miles away from town. Whoa, lucky us.
So you're gonna take the additional hour on top of your 2 hours to travel that distance and back. But you do eventually find out where they're. It is into like a little further into the forests that surround the city once you leave the gravel or dirt pathways. Once you get deeper into the forests, you do see a small, like, not even it's like a little teepee hut. It is a teepee hut, except instead of animal skin, it's just foliage. It's just stick and foliage.
Hmm. So that's probably a good sign. And so I make the journey back to inform the others.
Alright, while you do that,
Exactly as you describe.
Cyrus,
Yes. What is the castle gossip?
you infiltrate the castle pretty easily. You knock on the door, a guard answers, and it's just like, who are you and what's your business in the castle? You give them a pretty convincing answer. I'm not even going to make you roll for it.
Like I said, courtly graces, I belong in the upper crust.
Yeah, you're like, I have a meeting with Madam So-and-so.
Well, I don't think I can need to go that far. But I'm already, in a noble family, so I could just really go with that.
That's true. You're like, I'm in noble family XYZ. Please let me in. You make your way into the castle grounds. This is a pretty moderate castle considering it's the capital city of a major faction.
Yeah.
So it's multiple stories big. It's very, very large castle.
Yeah.
On the entry level, that's kind of like where the galas and balls and whatever else is held. That's where the parties
the
are held.
fancy rooms where everybody gets to see.
Yeah, the big fancy rooms with all the fancy artwork and sculptures and pieces of history.
The showcase floor.
Yeah, the showcase floor. You know, where the people kind of mingle but talk about stuff that's not really that important.
Unless it actually is important enough to become straight gossip.
Yeah, that too. And remind me what you got in your diplomacy check.
I had gotten flat 16 because I don't have a bonus.
Okay. So just generally walking around, going up the castle, hearing some things, going out into the garden and hearing some things. The most... I'm not even going to say interesting. I'm going to say the most prevalent piece of information.
Did he cut out?
No, I just
Yep.
received a message. Hold on.
Oh, real.
You paused it in the middle of that, and I was like, oh god.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. My girlfriend was texting me.
Not a problem.
Oh yeah, as you kind of meander around the castle listening to gossip, the only really prevalent piece of information that you hear is like whispers of like, I hear the Grand Regents are holding a meeting sometime within the next 2 days. I hear they plan to put more towards the war efforts in the north. It's a shame that we've gone from preventing to engaging in the wars. I really don't think this new regent has the right idea. I like the way he thinks. If we don't take advantage of the situation, others will. Stuff like that.
Still, good information that there is an opinion divide. And the meeting time. The meeting time is very important.
If
I can take that information and run with it.
If you want to stay around for like another 2 hours and try and get a specific time as for when of the meeting is, you can do that.
Ooh, I can. I will.
Alright. Does anybody, so, Duzon, I assume you're just gonna stick around and be a tree where you are, unless you want to do anything specifically?
Yeah. That's probably the best thing I can do, because, yeah, I'd rather stick with the others during a situation, so I'm gonna be a tree.
Alright, so
Until
you're just
they
gonna...
tell me otherwise.
You're just gonna...
He's just a tree.
You're just gonna tree pose there for a little while.
Tree.
Yeah, I'm a tree pose for a bit. While I ponder the object I have received from Borealis ?
Do you want to make active rolls for that, or is that just a thing you're gonna think about passively?
I could make active rolls for that.
I so sincerely hope you understand what I understand out of character.
I don't think they do.
I know, and that's why I really hope they get on the same page as me.
I'm so glad you understand the reference I'm making with this item.
I understood the assignment the moment you properly described it, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
It took me a while. It took me a while to get it, and then I finally understood.
Oh, you understand?
Yeah, I do.
I am
know
in
where
a
it's from.
completely different. I'm in a completely different chapter. I am not gonna lie, so I'm gonna need to do some rolls for this.
Okay.
So.
What
would I do?
Are you actually going to
that's
look
up to me.
over it and consider the item itself, or are you going to just ponder inside of your own head?
Okay. Robert is on the same page as Donnie. We are... Okay, we got somewhere.
I guess I'll... Could I sense it for any magical qualities?
You can attempt. That would be an Arcana check. Or an Occultism
Sure, I'll
check,
attempt
or a
an
Nature.
Arcana check.
Honestly, can you do that with Nature? Because I know Nature magic is a thing. You can identify magic with
nature's
Nature.
primal. You can also identify magic with religion if
Let
you're
me do
if
that,
it's
'cause
divine magic.
But yeah, you
Nature's a
can
plus 16. I would love to do nature.
You can see magic with Arcana, Occultism, Nature, Religion, and I think that's it.
Yeah, those are the magic skills.
Hopefully that'll give me something.
And each one's tied to a specific spell tradition. Nature to primal, religion to divine, and then the other two are kind of self-explanatory.
So I got a 27 for nature.
Okay. So as you pull out the cedar box and just rub your hand over it, you don't even need to open this box to feel that this has a very powerful connection to not just your god, it's primarily your god, but all the gods of nature.
Oh.
This seems like an artifact that multiple different gods came together to conceive of.
Damn.
You're still not any closer to figuring out what the fuck it actually does. But this It's very powerful, and you only have one use, apparently.
And it's in the shape of like, it's carved of a branch with a snake going around it, the size of a stick, right?
Yeah, so here at one point this was just a solid chunk of wood, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like someone put that chunk of wood into a lathe and used a chisel to get it precisely down to the shape of a stick that's about 2 feet long, with a snake that's tail starts at the thin end of the stick and wraps around until its head is at the wider end of the stick. Its eyes are closed, and the snake looks like it is in like a resting position.
Something tells me that I don't want that snake to wake up just yet. I don't know what it is. Something's getting me a little hunch, a little itch, if you will. Alright. God, I gotta figure out what this thing does. And, like, if I have one use, I don't know when, or if the right time will be to use it.
Right about...
I get...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go, you go ahead.
Right about now is when Rari comes, like, casually walking back. Rari, go ahead. Robert?
Yep, I'm here.
You are walking your way back into town and meeting up with Duzon.
Well, I found one of your temples.
Is it here?
4 to 5 miles out of town.
45.
425. 425, not 45.
425 miles out of town.
Oh, I would cry. I'd ask Duzon to carry him the rest of the way to that temple.
Less than an hour if we take the elk.
That's true.
Very well. If we can make it there.
So you're
He,
gonna
like,
take the elk?
Yeah, he's gonna stow away his artifact in the cedar box and like put it away. And he's gonna do a nice
Make a animal handling, which is command an animal.
Okay, we are level 9, so
Attempt a nature check against the animal's will DC.
fair. That's train animal. Okay. Nature check, right?
Yep.
Is that it?
Yep, just nature check.
Okay. I thought you said animal handling, but there is no animal handling.
It's a thing you can do under the nature skill.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that is a 28.
Yeah, that's way higher than the DC.
Sweet.
So yeah, about I'm gonna say 5, maybe 6 minutes later, your elk comes running up.
Alright, I guess. Would I be able to, like. Were we all able to fit on the elk's back?
You and
last
Rory
time?
can fit on the elk's back.
What about Cyrus?
Cyrus isn't there.
Dotted outline.
Is Cyrus gonna attempt to come with us, or
No,
is
he
he
is
doing his
not.
own thing?
He is doing his
Okay.
own thing.
That works. All right, I saddle up and I'm like,
Small one. Hop on. Hop on.
I'm pretty tall, but for Kobold standards. But I'll hop on.
Okay. Little Flame is also gonna hop on as well.
Okay.
Hooray! We get Little Flame.
All right. Let's ride.
Duzon, you are absolutely correct. Your elk is fast as fuck.
Yes. I sure hope you'd be.
So you get to where, with Rari's direction, you get there in probably like 45 minutes.
Perfect.
And as you dismount your elk and walk towards where Rari pointed out, you see a small, like, teepee-like hut that is made entirely out of bramble and foliage. Do you approach?
Yeah, I approach.
As you approach this hut, you see people, question mark, running in and out, running around. You see one of them consults a squirrel, another consults a rabbit. They're all, like, writing notes. One of them turns and sees you and is just kind of, like, stood there shocked for a second before, like, kneeling on the ground and bowing. Great sovereign of the forest, what can I do to honor your presence?
We're in the right place. Where is your temple's leader?
He is inside the hut, but I don't believe you will fit. I will fetch him for you.
Thank you very much.
And he kind of stands up and, like, runs inside the teepee hut, and you hear, like, oh my god, there's a sovereign outside! I got to talk to him!
Oh, he's gonna be like a big fan.
They're already fanboying.
Oh god.
But yeah, inside you hear, like, a muffled, I got to talk to it! It chose to speak to me! All of you can suck it!
Oh. Are they usually this fanatic about you, Duzon?
I imagine, like, there's the you just go here, like, I'll fetch him for you. Oh, hey, what's up? Wait, what? Yeah. Oh my god! Let him in! Let him in! Let him in! Let him in! Oh, Trey, you're right. All right, let me get out there. Sovereign's here, and the sovereign wants to see me.
Take that, depression.
Oh.
Take that,
Take that
depression.
depression. Oh
Take
gosh.
that depression.
Oh no.
Depression.
So yeah, you
What's up
basically
with
hear a
football
muffled
and
version
knowing
of all of that, and then, like, walking out is a man whose skin is green and he is completely naked.
Oh.
Oh. Rory is just like,
And is it out?
Is it out?
You know.
A little sensor blurb.
Yes.
He has a small bush. No,
Okay,
and I
so,
don't
like,
mean that. I
it's
mean
like
a
Adam.
literal bush.
Oh.
So it is an actual hedge.
It is an actual hedge.
So like Adam,
Yeah.
essentially.
Except instead of
Okay.
a leaf, it's a bush, and it's very well trimmed.
Nice.
Interesting.
Anyways,
He landscapes.
you know, potty humors.
Interesting.
And Rory is just like,
Potty humors side. All right.
You see this man who has, like, foliage for, like... You know how, like, older men get that bald spot and it's just, like, that ring of hair and just the bald spot?
Uh-huh.
Imagine that, but instead the ring of hair is just foliage.
Okay.
He has green skin and he's about 5 foot. He walks out of the hut and he doesn't quite get on his knees, but he bows to you.
I nod my head to respond to it.
I see the forest has sent yet another sovereign down our way. How can I be of service to you, O great sovereign?
Well, I'd love to figure that out, but here's what I do know. This world and a neighboring city, about 4 or 5 miles away, is in could be in grave danger. I'm sure you're aware of the sudden expansion of... Hold on, where is it?
It's Oh no, is it Holgia expanding into Wana Thamor, or vice versa?
It is Holgia expanding into Hawana Thamor, as well as other
Yes.
countries doing the same.
Okay.
Hatchire has also been on the path for that too.
Okay. So I go,
I want to know if you're aware of the sudden expansion of Hogia into other countries. Wana Thamor being one of them.
Why, yes, we've heard talk from the birds. The
What
birds
are the birds
say...
t-
What was that? Okay. The birds say that 2 factions have been gaining large amounts of territory from the Elvish country. Well, I say Elvish country. The birds say the dagger ears. They might be a little... Anyway, they say that the 2 primary factions that are attempting to take hold of previously elven lands are the humans, which is this faction, I assume, and the greenskins, not like me, like dark green, which I assume to be the orcs.
Yes. I fear that, well, me and my compatriots fear that a powerful and evil wizard may have his hands in on this sudden expansion. Because Holgia does not usually go for such lands.
That is true. As far as we are aware, Holgia used to be the peacekeeper of these different factions.
Which even with Wana Thamor's state of weakness, it is nothing short of unnatural for Holgia to take advantage of it. My compatriots and I come to this temple because this wizard we fear is too powerful for us to face alone. Facing several sources.
Don't forget the necrostorm duzon.
I'm getting to it. And we want to get everything we can get. Because the last time we fought this wizard, it created a necrostorm over the capital of Wana Thamor.
So that's what happened.
Yes. Have you heard of much like the necrostorm that stormed over Corsica, consuming Yuko?
Of course. We hear of all the... He kind of thinks on it for a second. They weren't natural disasters, were they?
From what I once thought was natural, there's nothing natural about these things. Because I saw him create one in the process. And if I weren't there, if me and my compatriots and I weren't there, many more citizens in that country, in that city, would have perished.
Well, it's a good thing you were there. Sounds like you helped a heck of a lot of people.
I helped everyone I could.
Good.
But now, I've come to ask the Order of Borealis, and potentially the other gods of nature, if they can send anything for our aid.
He kind of looks at you, looks to your bag. Something tells me you already have that aid, my friend.
He pulls out the cedar box and pulls out the artifact.
I've pondered this thing ever since I received it. And yet I'm still left confused. I know its creator, or potential creators. And I know I only can use it once, as stated. But what it does, what I'm supposed to do with it, why I have it, I'm stuck.
He walks over to you as you hold this artifact out. His eyes scanning it, but his hands make no movement towards it. And you hear him kind of whisper softly, like, I am unworthy. And then he kind of like snaps out of it. So, I'm assuming you want assistance identifying what it does.
If possible.
Could I? There's no insight, is there?
It's perception.
Because I heard him say like, I am not worthy.
You did hear him say that, yes.
Out of character, I would like to point out the whole reason we took you here was to get you an in into the castle.
Well, that's fair. I'll also bring it on that. I'll bring that up. But then I'll be like,
what makes you unworthy?
He kind of sits there pondering for a moment. You, O great sovereign, are a vessel of Borealis themselves. He gestures to himself. I am a mere child of the wood. What am I in comparison to you?
You are a part of this world. I see myself no higher than you. No matter how high Borealis sees me, or how high you see me. And I, a vessel of Borealis, would like to know what you believe this object to be.
Well, that is
among other things.
Well, that is a very honorable way of thinking, O great sovereign. But as far as what this does, let me roll for him. He does not touch it. But he kind of gestures to the wide end with the head of the snake. Point this end at your target.
is he asking me to do this now?
No.
No.
No, he's giving you instructions.
He's giving you instructions as to how this thing functions.
Okay.
So he kind of gestures to the wide end with the head of the snake. Point this end
Okay.
at your target.
Okay.
As for what it may do, I have no idea. But
Alright.
it should have... You should just need to point at your desired target and simply say this phrase. You might want to put it away while I say this.
He quickly shoves it into the cedar box and puts it away.
Go on.
He leans in close and whispers this to you in the language of nature itself. which
Okay. What does it whisper?
he whispers, and I'm gonna DM you this.
Oh.
So I can copy and paste it.
Why are you so low on my fucking content? You know, I'm just searching. Peter. There you go, Peter.
I see it. Alright, putting that in my notes. Alright, so when he whispers that to me, I go,
That is about what I've. That is plenty to hear. Thank you. Now, I have one more matter I need to address.
Of course, Sovereign. Anything.
what's the castle's name again, out of character?
Notes. I have this in notes. Hold on. It's just the name of the town, but I'm blanking on the name of the... It's Castle Name of Town.
Durinsk.
Castle Durinsk. Thank you, Cyrus.
Okay,
Why
so,
on earth does everyone keep forgetting the city's name? Jeez.
Well, it's because I had it
I'm
in
not
notes.
to remember.
I'm not exempt from
Okay.
this, but still.
Okay, so, and then I say,
We are looking to enter the castle of Durinsk. My compatriots have a much better chance to get in, understandably due to my stature. We were wondering if you could be of any help in getting me in there, or at least giving me access without anyone pointing fingers.
Give me but a moment. He walks into the hut, you hear him shuffling around, and he brings out a small gem. This is a small amethyst with a series of runes carved into it.
okay.
This is a rune. Sorry. Yeah, this is a rune of animal form.
Oh, wait.
You can use the.
Okay.
He kind of holds this out to you and explains. Here, you can use this to transform into any animal. Not well. Hold on. You can use this to transform into an animal of your choosing. Within reason.
Of
You
course.
can be
How
anything
often-
from as inconspicuous as a mouse to as dangerous as a bear. Use it as you please, Sovereign.
How often can I use it? Will it go away after a certain amount?
That's a good question. I believe it's
For
like...
character, the spell itself lasts for 1 minute. As for the item, I'm not completely sure.
This is not a scroll, so I'm gonna think it has charges. Let me roll to see how many charges it has. It has 3 charges, and once it runs out of charges, the runes in the item fade, and it becomes a normal amethyst crystal.
Wait, hold on. Repeat that.
It has the animal form amethyst spell gem. It has 3 charges on it. And when it runs out of charges, the runes etched into it fade, and it becomes a non-magical gem.
Okay.
It works like a spell scroll, but unlike a spell scroll, it can be used more than once.
Okay, sweet. And how long does the spell last?
The spell of animal form lasts for 1 minute.
Damn, that's not a lot of time. But
you call
if we
upon
can get
primal
in at
energy
least.
to transform yourself into a medium animal battle form. You could really just do whatever medium animal you want. It doesn't have to be a fighting animal. When you cast the spell, choose from a listed battle form. Again, this can be whatever you want. You can flavor it to look like whatever you want, really.
Fair.
You can decide
Does
the
it have to be
specific animal types, such as lion, snow leopard, etc., but this has no effect on the form's size or statistic. While in this form, you gain the animal trait, and you can dismiss the spell as a free action. You gain specific abilities based on the animal you choose, but if you look up the spell, it tells you all that nonsense. But yeah. What was your question?
I forget.
Okay.
No. Fuck. Okay.
Be a Giga Chad and choose ape and then become a human.
Oh, I remember my question now. Is it confined to medium creatures?
Yes.
Okay, so it can't turn into a fly or a bird or anything like that.
You can turn into a bird. It'll just be a medium
Big.
bird, like a hawk.
A hawk.
Which means you can get over the wall.
If a hawk enters the castle, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, there's a hawk in the castle! Get it out of here!"
Unless there is like a spot for like messenger birds, where a hawk would not be out of place.
Although I will say
That's
this,
true.
a hawk is probably like a noble messenger bird, whereas like a commoner messenger bird is more likely like a
It's
pigeon.
like a pigeon. It's like a pigeon or a dove in something easily
So
trainable.
if I fly in as a hawk, they'll probably be like, "Ooh, this must be important. Here, give it here."
Yeah.
And Duzon's gonna be like, "Oh shit."
Or like a falcon is like, you know, like a ranger's thing.
Yeah.
And I know the actual animal forms thing doesn't actually allow you to have anything with a fly speed, and I'm like, fuck that.
Damn.
I'm the DM, and the item does what I say.
You are the DM. The item does in fact bend to your will.
Alright, we're reaching right about the halfway point, so I'm going to say that now is a good time for any bathroom breaks, snack breaks, refill your drink, do what you need to do, and I will be right back.
Before you leave, I have a question.
Shoot.
At some point tonight, whenever you get a chance, could you DM me the details of the rune of animal form so I don't forget?
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you, thank you. Alright, go do your thing.
One of my friends is actually watching the stream.
Yes. Who is it?
Jack.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. Because this man's about to see the chaos of Pathfinder. Should Rari go insane? Or should Rari not go insane? That is the question. I feel like Rari wants to go insane. But then again, I don't know. Oh, Cyrus, do I have the grimoire or do you have the grimoire? Did you give that back to me?
I don't remember specifically if this is something we actually stated. Because we had given it to grandmother for her to look at, and then she looked at you like you were an insane person.
Oh no, then I would have it. I wouldn't let go of it for any other reason. Oh yeah, and then I gave it to Granny. And then Granny did her thing and cursed this guy, and then
So
gave
Granny
me
was the
back
last
the
one to
grimoire.
hold on to it.
I'm pretty sure Granny gave me back the grimoire.
Yeah, so you probably have it.
Yeah, okay, good. Because guess who wants to read it? Me.
Oh boy.
It's not like it's gonna do anything extremely terrible. I mean, it's just a bunch of very intelligible words that apparently you guys can't read. Maybe you should have taken a few classes. I don't know. Just saying. The language of Beyond is quite a interesting and complex language. The Duolingo owl will be proud. It's one of the only languages Rari knows outside of Draconic and Common.
Hello, I return.
Hello.
I'm going to DM Peter the spell rune of animal form. 3 of 3 charges when it runs out. It Spell Rune of Animal Form, 3 of 3 charges. When it runs out of charges, it turns into a non-magical amethyst. For 2 actions, cast Animal Form on yourself. And then he can just look up what Animal Form does.
Super sweet, thank you.
No problem. And for those of you that don't know watching the stream, there is a free resource for everything that we use on outside of homebrew stuff on Archive of Nethys. It is a free resource that contains everything and anything Pathfinder. So feel free to look into that if you want to learn how to do this yourself. Peter, are you back or not yet?
I'm back.
Alright, cool. Is everybody ready to continue?
Ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
I am fairly ready, and I have stumbled upon something very interesting
What may that be?
in relation to being bougie.
In relation to what?
Being bougie.
Being bougie, got it.
There are things called spell hearts, which are like multi-use talismans, which give spells.
Yes, there are.
This is interesting reads.
I think my favorite of all the spell hearts, is Jolt Coil. Or Perfect Droplet. Phantasmal Doorknob sounds awesome too.
Grim Sandglass is really strong.
I feel like anything with the tag of greater is really strong.
Oh no, even just Grim Sandglass, well, greater Grim Sandglass is very good. Major Grim Sandglass is even better.
Yep, that's usually how it works.
Grim Sandglass, you can pick harm or heal to cast.
Nice.
And Major, you get 4th level harm or heal, and you get Enervation or Restoration.
Phantasmal Doorknob. This ornate doorknobs can open doors, both material and metaphysical, revealing dreams and nightmares. The spell DC of any spell cast by activating this item is 20. If it is attached to armor, you gain +1 bonus to thievery checks to pick a lock. If it is attached to a weapon, when you can critically succeed on a strike with the weapon, the target is dazzled until the end of its next turn. Whenever you cast a spell, you can then use Ghost Sound as an additional effect. And if you cast a spell, once per day, you can cast Phantasmal Treasure. If it is a greater doorknob, you can cast Phantasmal Killer, and if it is a major doorknob, you can cast Phantasmal Calamity.
Oh no.
And if you wanted someone to make a spell heart, they have to actually be able to cast all of the spells listed.
Yep. So not a lot of people can make major ones.
Nope.
Alright, well, everybody ready? Cyrus!
Mm-hmm.
You opted to stay an extra 2 hours to try and find out when this meeting is specifically in 2 days. So give me another diplomacy check for that. And I'm going to say you get an additional +2 because you already know what day the meeting is.
Hey, dirty 20.
All right. As you listen closer to pretty much the same two people go on and on about, like, I think that it's horrible that he's invading these countries when they are at their weakest. I think it's a great idea because if we don't, the orcs will, or hell, even the religious over in the Divine Kingdom. And I imagine like you like kind of push your way into this conversation. Do you want to like push your way into this conversation and influence it directly, or do you want to just listen in the background?
I will listen in the background for now.
Okay.
The walls do in fact have ears.
Then we're gonna move on to some other people on a higher floor. This is probably like the third floor, where like the first floor is like the banquet hall, the art pieces. The second floor is like noble houses, where the noble houses have their representatives staying. The third floor is where you have lordships, like representatives of lordships staying. And you actually overhear a lord and a lady talking from the other side of a door. And you hear, there's a couple meetings coming up in the next few days. Some of like lordships, some with some of the lesser representatives. But I hear that at noon 2 days from now, there's actually going to be a council meeting for the Grand Regents. Oh, wow, that's really fascinating. So something really must have gone all the way up the chain of command for them to have an official meeting like that. Yes, I hear that they'll be going over a few different subjects that day, one of which being the war effort over in the Elvish lands. Really, I bet it's because of that new Grand Regent. He's been pushing the aggressive side ever since he gained that. That's the reason he gained that position in the first place. It's because he's been so aggressive about the whole warfront thing. I know, I really hope that these people wisen up and see that this is just another play at power from some desperate hoo-ha.
They're not wrong.
Hey.
Tell me they're not wrong.
Hey, sometimes people know more than what they're talking about.
Yep. And sometimes people know more than what they're listening in on.
Yep.
Or have more context.
See, to these people, he's just some new political figure that showed up out of nowhere and is trying to gain power quickly. To you, he's a great threat.
And also an insane hoo-ha.
Yep, and also a crazy hoo-ha.
Context. Makes the world go round.
Mm-hmm. Are you satisfied with the information you have, or are you going to stick around?
I am satisfied.
Alright, so I'm going to assume you're going to make your way back to Duzon and Rari then.
Yep.
Alright.
Although, I'm going to encounter dotted outlines, so perhaps...
Are you?
Well, actually, that's a good question.
Because you stayed there for a grand total of 4 hours. Duzon did nothing for the first 2 hours, while Rari was doing his thing for 3 hours. It took them 45 minutes to get there. Yes, you will get back to the meeting area to dotted lines. But, like, roughly 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
Roughly 15 minutes.
I really have no idea how long Rari is going to take.
Are you going to wait there, or are you going to do something in the meantime?
I'll wait there. Also, in DMs, the other half of what we talked about before session.
Major Grim Sandglass. I'm assuming that is a spell heart.
It is a spell heart.
Grim Sandglass.
I could give you the quick link.
I see it. I got it.
And putting it on the armor gives me pretty solid benefits for what I'm expecting.
Resistance when affixed to armor is 10.
For a major. To
Yes.
negative.
You probably won't be able to get a major, but you'll definitely be able to get a greater.
Now, we could always do some hunting.
That's true, but that's going to require rolls and time.
Well, if I'm coming back to dot outlines, if I come back to see dot outlines, I can always have time.
That's true. So, give me a perception check to see if you can find someone with enough knowledge, skill, and know-how to make this, or if you just so happen to get lucky and find a trader that is selling such a rare item.
Yes, Jen. Not bad, actually. If I really wanted to, I could add Detect Magic to look for powerful items.
That is true.
We love innate Detect Magic. Natural 20. So that brings perception up to 36.
Okay. As you're leaving the castle, you think, I should probably look for this.
I'm
And...
encountering a crazed necromancer to some degree.
Huh?
Because I'm probably going to encounter a crazy person specializing with necrosis things.
Yep. So as you're leaving the castle, you kind of overhear, why, I am a traveling salesperson, you see. I go all over the continents in search of grand artifacts, and then bring them to wherever I please. Most likely wherever will get me the highest amount of coin, yes. And I just so happened to come across a rare item, you see. It's something fantastical called a spell heart, yes. This is your cue, Cyrus.
Yep, I will walk in. I will walk over.
You walk over.
I was distracted for a second. Real life distractions.
All good.
But yes, I will walk over.
You walk over, and the guy who claims to be a merchant of rare artifacts notices you like, oh, hello, good sir. What may your name be?
My name is Cyrus Dusklight.
Oh, of the Dusklight clan. I've heard your father does great work. Yes, my name
Yes, he
is...
does.
Hmm?
Yes, he does.
My
It's a
name
difficult job, but
is...
someone does it. Sorry. Sorry.
You're all good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The delay. No, I already actually finished.
Alright. He's like, right. Well, my name is Zepp Brannigan. Courageous fleet captain, adventurer extraordinaire, and, of course, salesman of rare and extravagant artifacts. What can I do you for today?
That's Brannigan.
As I was passing by, I heard you mention something called a spell heart.
Why, yes, sir. It happens to be the most extravagant one I found so far.
Oh, ooh.
May I see it?
Why, of course. No good merchant goes anywhere without at least some of his stock. And you see he reaches into a bag of holding.
Good old bag of holding. Everybody loves bag of holding.
Alright, cool. It takes him about 5 minutes of just clawing through random garbage in his bag of holding. And he pulls out a small little hourglass with black sand inside. And it is constantly flowing from top to bottom. Once the sand flows entirely out of the top, the color shifts from black to white, and the hourglass kind of flips inside of the little ring that it's inside of. And it just keeps flipping and flipping to the other color. Like, it goes from black to white, flips white to black, black to white, and so on. It just keeps flipping every time like that.
Yeah, he's going to, like, observe it for a minute as, one does.
This is the
Because
real
you actually
deal.
have stumbled across the real spell heart.
Yes, it is. I just so happen to have bartered it from ancient ruins. And my first mate, Kif, barely even died.
Well, I hope he's okay.
Like I said, barely even died.
So, would you be willing to part with it for a price?
Why, of course, he is going to charge you. Okay. He's going to charge you 4,000 gold.
4,000? Oh my god. Now, I had 4,000. I only have like 2,000 now. So that's problematic.
After all, this is a wonderful artifact that I had to make quite the expense for. And say, to the right collector, I could maybe even pitch it for 12,000. Isn't that right? And then, like, the lady next to you is just like, oh yes, I'd gladly pay a couple tens of thousands for that. A couple platinum pieces is nothing to scrub off my shoulder.
But does she know the true value of what she's actually buying? Because some casters can make these, provided they know what they're doing.
Why, yes, some casters can make these, but they're probably not as refined.
Well, you've heard my family. My sister is quite the skilled spellcaster herself. She could probably make at least a different spell heart on par with this.
Then I don't see why you can't go commission her for that.
Well, the difference between her magic and this one, again to the untrained eye, this one uses magic more akin to that of clerics. You know, the clergies, holy people.
He nods.
My sister specializes in more destructive magic.
That is truly unfortunate, but my price remains the same, sir.
Let's see. How about this? I only have 2,000 gold on hand, about such. But I could also offer you to trade. I have an endless grimoire on hand. If you wish to sell to wizards who would pay a premium for something like that. And I can, present, like, the 2,000 gold bag, but I could also present the endless grimoire.
Make me a diplomacy check. Because you are requesting him to accept this barter.
Yep. And I know what I'm talking about, too.
Yes, you do.
Thank God the dice agree that I actually kind of know what I'm talking about, because I really don't have a bonus to diplomacy. 19 on flat.
19 flat.
Yep.
He looks over the endless grimoire.
It is a greater endless grimoire.
It is a greater endless grimoire.
And even then, wizards will literally pay premiums for things that don't, for a spellbook that does not run out.
He's like, do you mind if I see it?
Not at all.
He kind of takes it, opens it, flips the page, flips the page, flips the page, flips the page, flips the page,
Starts flipping.
flips the page, flips the
Goes
page.
to where the back of the book is supposed to be.
No, he's just gonna keep flipping the page.
Oh no.
He's a little dumb.
He's gonna be doing that for a while.
Flips the page, flips the page.
Skip to where the book would physically end. It'll keep going.
He closes it and then opens the end of the book, flips the page, flips the page.
Well, when he opens it, it'll be more pages on the right. That's the kicker.
That's true. And he just keeps flipping the page. He's like,
Right,
this
see,
spell book.
It's a genuine endless grimoire.
I see. My problem is that it's blank.
Well, it's not completely blank, actually. You told me there were a few spells already pre-written.
I totally forgot about that.
For me, you had told me it contained 5 spells off the top. It was Caustic Blast, Air Bubble, Benediction, Detect Poison, and Forced Mercy.
Okay, then yeah, he's going to accept that bargain then. He's going to accept your bargain. He's going to take the Endless Grimoire as well as most, if not all, of your money. And he's going to...
Because the book was supposed to cover the other half the price.
Yep. 2,000 gold is still pretty much most of your money.
Oh, 2,000 gold is like all my gold. Not most, all.
Okay, so...
Meaning, like, physical gold.
So he's going to take the Endless Grimoire and literally all of your money.
Yep, aside from, like, the staggering copper and silver.
And he's going to give
Stragglers.
you the Major Grim Sandglass in return.
Nice. And this is why we hold on to items that we don't actively use, because we can't use that. I literally cannot use the Endless Grimoire.
Alright. Alright, with that, Rari and Duzon, you arrive back into the town square to see that Cyrus still is not at the desired meeting place. The sun is now reaching the past of the the sun is now reaching past the middle of the sky.
Okay. We got what we needed, at least. And
Where's Cyrus?
exactly my point. It couldn't be that hard to get clearance into a castle, could it? Especially since he's from better blood. I knew we should have dragged him here with us. But then again, castle access is important.
Oh wait, you guys were about to ask the guy if he could get you into the castle, weren't you?
Didn't he
Oh,
give you
we-
fucking...
Yeah,
didn't
he
give you
needs
the
a rune.
Oh, right. Thank you for the reminder.
Yep.
No problem.
As you guys kind of wait and just watch the sun slowly move across the sky, about 15-20 minutes pass and Cyrus joins you guys.
Well, about time. What kept you so long?
Even if I explain that, I'm not sure your magic knowledge is up to par. But I'll try.
Yeah. Give me the short version.
He'll present the Grim Sandglass. This little trinket should help us in the long run.
Okay. And that castle access for moi?
Well, I thought we already agreed that you were just going to disguise yourself as the help.
Yes. But I do need
That
to
doesn't
know...
require special preparation.
Well, I need to at least make a cunning disguise. You know what their uniforms look like? Is it generic?
Yes.
Or very
And
specific?
I give him, the general description of the castle. Castle, like, staff.
Okay.
'Cause I would know that. It's...
I could fashion a disguise. It'll
Quick
take me a
question
bit.
with that statement, Rory.
Mhm.
Do you have a disguise kit?
I do not, but I could go get one.
I was gonna say,
Or
if
we
you
could just
do
go and
not,
straight up get the clothes.
if you do not have a disguise kit, then no, you cannot fashion a disguise.
Represent yourself.
Yeah, represent
I mean,
yourself.
the alternative to disguise kit is literally just buying the clothes.
That is true also, yeah. I could go legit and buy a uniform.
Or in your fashion, you could follow a, like, someone about your size staff member home and steal one of their uniforms.
That is an option. However, there are certain rules with Sky Sunder that I cannot break.
Oh yeah, you gave up stealing.
Exactly.
Not entirely.
Not entirely, but I'm not fully aware of the stipulations that would deem it acceptable to steal yet.
The only oath you made was to protect and propagate dwarvish culture. That's the only oath you made.
Oh. In that case, then I can steal things that, as long as it doesn't belong to Dwarven heritage.
Go follow a non-dwarf.
Or I suppose I can.
Besides, wouldn't a dwarf's uniform be fit a little too wide for Rari anyway? Because he's like stick and bone.
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Isn't Rari also like too thin to even fit in like a dwarf's version of the uniform.
Yes.
Right.
Rari, the closest humanoid koboldian race that Rari would fit into that is pretty common around here is maybe gnomes.
And I would still need the disguise kit to kind of tailor that kind of outfit to be more fitting to kobold anatomy.
Although I will say, making any kind of disguise, whether you have previous materials or not, still requires a disguise kit.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I would still need to seek out a disguise kit. So yeah, Rari is going to do that. Rari, equipped with the knowledge that there are maybe halfling and or
No.
similar sized individuals, gnome-sized individuals that may be working in the staff.
So you're
He's
gonna
going to seek first a disguise kit and then see if he could get, how you say, a pre-existent model to work with.
Alright, so a disguise kit is gonna cost you 2 gold. Of just going around
That I
to
can
different general shops, getting cosmetics, false hairs, gum.
Masks, because Rari is very clearly not humanoid enough to pass for gnome.
Exactly. So you're gonna spend 2 gold doing that.
Unless I actively spotted a kobold worker, but I don't think I did.
I don't think you did either.
Okay. 2 gold spent.
And you want to scout out the castle to see when people go home?
Yep, to follow a gnome home, a gnome butler to its quarters, and take one of their uniforms.
Okay, that's gonna take 8 hours.
Yikes. And it's noonish, if I understand your description right.
Yeah, because people don't leave the castle. At least the servantry doesn't leave the castle until the nobility is done with them. And even then, some of the more elite servantry live in the castle.
Like the head butler, the head maid.
The head
The
chef.
ones who, yeah, like the managers, basically.
So if you want to actually wait till people starting to leave the castle and then you tell them home, that's going to take 8+ hours.
Well, is there a faster option that I could potentially pursue?
Potentially, but that's up to you.
If you want to risk sneaking into the castle, always go to the laundry room.
Ooh, you're right about that.
If you want to risk going into the castle.
Ooh. I mean,
I said that, half of that first. I just want you to know.
yeah, I know, and it sounds like a really good idea. The
It
other
is a
option
good
is I
one with
go
a very
into...
probable consequence.
Yeah, then there's the idea of stealing one from the boutique or wherever the servantry get their uniforms tailored at. Say, Cyrus, how would someone feel, hypothetically, now that I have my tailoring kit, so to speak, how would someone feel if I were to, I don't know, happen upon some unattended clothing in, say, the castle? Unattended servantry clothes.
I'd say if you got caught, the price is more likely your hands, but I would just say make sure you don't get caught. Since at that point, if you get caught stealing in the castle, they're going to assume you were there for something more than just clothes.
I mean, have you seen my clothes? I'm pretty sure if they saw the state of my wares, they wouldn't really question the clothes. Raggedy kobold trying to get better clothes.
Yes, but they would assume you were there for more than that.
I suppose. But in the absence of other options, unless you have one. I mean, do you know where the butlery and servants get their clothes from? Because if you do, I could probably get the 5-finger discount. I'll put it back when I'm done.
Don't think this is something he would actually know off the top of his head.
I'm gonna go with no,
It's
especially
not something you would
considering.
have had to have paid attention to.
I'm gonna go with you don't know where that is, Cyrus, especially because you were hanging out with the actual nobility and not the servants.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I don't know where the servants get their outfits.
Then could you point me to someone that does?
Just side eye.
Look, I didn't grow up with money. I don't know.
And
Oh,
there,
my.
and there it is. Most people with money don't think about these things.
Well, consider it a first. Because unless I get some way, somehow, to tailor this outfit to support our means, there is very little I can do. I mean, I am a sneaky fellow, but there's always a chance for me to get caught. And if I'm more convincingly a butler or a lowly servant, maybe even a slave, I don't have much a shot of getting into the castle grounds.
Real quick thing, hate to interrupt, but you would know this, slavery is illegal in Holgia.
And as far as Holgia is concerned, slavery has long since been disbanded. So I can't really go that route anymore.
Have you considered just following a butler or maid home?
Do we have enough time for that? That's the question.
Well, there's a council meeting happening at about noon in, what was it, 2 days?
2 days.
In 2
In 2
days.
days.
Little Flame kind of
I would
speaks up.
most likely say if Granny's curse were to take effect, it would probably be at that meeting.
Little Flame kind of speaks up to you, Cyrus. Why didn't you say that first?
What?
Oh, yeah, the timing of the meeting.
He kind of speaks up like to Cyrus specifically in Pyric. Why didn't you
Yeah,
say
you
the
can-
time and place of the meeting first?
Right, my bad.
Damn right you're bad. That could have been useful information.
In Pyric, remember, some people aren't intelligent.
Yeah.
He kind of like
He asked questions
rolls.
first, and I had to explain them.
He kind of like rolls his eyes. Wet blanket.
Sue me for being red. Back to common.
So we have 2 days, this grand council meeting.
Yes, where all the Grand Regents are going to be in one room. If I had to hedge a guess, based on how you described Granny's spellcasting to be quite the spectacle, if there was ever a time for a disaster to hit, it would be when the most important people in the nation are all gathered in one building, in one room, at one table.
Or how likely would it be that the other regents decide to, oh, I don't know, defend their own? In the case that we pounce on the
in that
opposite
situation, from what I actually know, how many of them actively have the ability to defend themselves freely and defend someone else without extreme risks to them, because they most likely will all flee the room if a fight breaks out?
From what you know of the Grand Regents that make up the Grand Council of Holgia, you know that they come from all sorts of different backgrounds. They're not just strictly nobility. You know, at the very least, one of the Grand Regents is the commander of the army, is like the Grand Commander of the army.
Yeah.
So he specifically will be able to very easily take care of not only himself, but anyone else he chooses to. The question of that is whether or not he chooses to, but the majority... Go ahead.
If someone goes clinically insane in front of him, he's not going to defend the clinically insane.
Yeah, he's not going to defend the clinically insane or even people he considers as political rivals.
Yeah. Especially a necromancer that's very clearly using necromancy illegally.
Outside of him specifically, you know that another one of the Grand Regents is, like, also the head of, like, the Magic Council of Holgia. So he may have means to defend himself. But the vast majority are just simply nobility. Elected nobility, but nobility nonetheless.
Which is to say, Silver Spoon.
Which is to say, Silver Spoon.
Right.
So, all of your best guesses, you're gonna safely say that if something crazy happens...
Two people in the room.
What's that?
There's at least two people in the room who will probably get the others who can't defend themselves to safety before sticking around to see what the fuck's going on.
And most of everyone, except for like maybe 3, maybe 4 of the 10 council members, will just fucking bolt as soon as literally anything happens because, you know, noble.
And no self-defense.
Not only no self-defense, but, like, the highest amount of self-preservation. They will prefer anyone but themselves die.
Yeah. Right, to memory about the Grand Regency. There's at least 2 people I can think of who can defend themselves quite properly, as well as others. And a number of people who will most likely shove and trip someone to make sure that they die first instead of them.
Well... At least, okay, so that's 2 people that kind of know what they do.
The grand majority of the room will most likely leave if something happens.
Oh.
The head of the Mages Council and the general of the army are the 2 people in question.
I am hoping that this mage is someone other than who is our primary target. Because... according to my totally legitimate and not crazy book, he was a high-ranking mage and councilman of the Elvish courts.
Yes, but this would be the head of the mage courts here. This is someone already in place.
So could there be I don't know, an assistant position, or a, or is he,
From my knowledge, and I could be slightly wrong, the wizard in question is his own individual. I don't believe he would have ties that deep in the Mages Guilds here. Different nationality entirely. The head of the Mages Guild here was already established, probably by the time he infiltrated, so that wouldn't have been a position he could get into. Not without killing and assuming an identity, of course.
Right.
But when it comes to mages, most people tend to know which mage is capable of what.
Except the mage in office, so to speak, has no idea that one of his cohorts is capable of destroying several nations, if not the entire world.
He might know that, your wizard is a wizard, but that might be the extent.
A mage.
If a mage keeps their cards close enough to their chest, their specialties can lie unknown for a while until they begin using spells.
So we could also bait him out by forcing his hand to cast the spell.
Theoretically, if you were to help him cast something along the lines of necromancy, I can't see the general or the mage councilman sticking up for him. Or if you can, bring out the insanity.
Interesting. So I guess the only option I have left is to follow one of the servantry to their quarters, which should have my size, and then tailor the suit or uniform to my likeness, tuck my tail, so to speak, and all of that. And, formulate a proper disguise.
That would seem to be the best option.
Alright.
Although, again, I don't condone stealing.
Well, what choice do we have? It's either that or I spend extreme amounts of the gold to get a butler or uniform or something. And we need to strike with such short of a deadline. Literally 2 days. We need to act with the quickest options, not necessarily the best ethical options. We don't have the luxury of ethics anymore.
And I can't help you regrow your hands if you get them cut off.
I'm sure Granny and I could work something out.
Look at that.
Granny is a very kind soul. I'm sure she'll help me with this. Of course, I'll have to pay a price, but if I'm missing hands...
The price could easily just be your feet instead.
No. Well, supposing my feet. Regardless,
I would tread lightly.
I will be extremely careful, and I need you two to help me by possibly being my apprehendors if things go south. That way, I get escorted and arrested, a citizen's arrest, if you will. And then we walk away, they get peace of mind. Though the clothes have mysteriously vanished. I must have misplaced it in the scuffle. And once you guys thoroughly search me, which could take a matter of days, you'll find that the clothes is not to be found. Perhaps damaged or destroyed from the scuffle or whatnot. You're
getting this blank stare as you're trying to explain this convoluted fraud, basically.
That's a stretching of the truth.
You're just getting the blank stare of right. You're getting the yes dear stare. Of he hears you, he's actively ignoring how horrible the decisions you're trying to make are.
Well, you're also the one that suggested that I go follow someone. And
he did not say steal.
Borrow? Oh yes, I would go up, looking as I do. Oh dear butler, would you be so kind as to give me an outfit? Here's a spattering of gold. What are the odds that would work?
Actually quite high.
Are butlers not caring
Paid
of
well?
their possessions?
They're not paid well.
Okay.
Most of them make enough just to make ends meet. If they have a spare and you were offered to offer them several gold, probably more than they make in a month.
Very true.
I guess I could.
Would it be worth it to
some
them?
Gold. Fine. Fine. I will go follow the gnome home or any butler of my size and to pay them. Rari is very clearly doubtful because knowing as he has been on the streets and as a survivor of
You just
of
heard that these
extreme
people.
lack,
You just heard the phrase "they barely make ends meet."
but they make ends meet.
Barely, which means they're on
There
the end
is-
of they will. But if someone is willing to pay them a premium for something very basic that they already have, or can get another one of,
Right.
it's a
Rari?
deal.
Rari, that doesn't make much sense because if you can make ends meet, even if it's by a sliver, you're doing far better than he ever had. Because Raleigh had to resort to all these crimes just to make even close to, if not more than, and in this case, way more than what they make. It was not an easy life for Rari. So, they really don't care, so I guess we'll put it to the test.
Not
And
that they don't care.
hopefully-
It's that if you offer them a large sum, probably which would be ending up more than they make in a month, if more, for something they could easily replace, or get replaced for them.
Or
Even
have
begrudgingly
multiple
from the
copies
nobility.
of.
Yeah. Or already possess multiple copies.
Hmm.
They will gladly pay. They will gladly give you the item if you pay a premium for it, because it means that much extra lifespan for them.
It means they can
Okay.
afford food for the next however many months.
They could even upscale it if they damn well please.
But how much gold, really, would it be before, say, masters notice that they've come upon a sudden massive wealth?
Hey, Rory, make
Wouldn't
a
that
will
be
save real
suspicious?
quick.
Okay. That is 15 plus 15, 33, I believe, but I'm just making sure. Yeah, 33.
You're not quite sure why, but the number 3 pops in your head.
3 gold. 3 gold seems to be a fair number. Just enough to get them enough resources. But not too much to raise suspicions. Yeah, that works. Alright, 3 gold. I could part with 3 gold. I parted with more than 3 gold for others. I guess I could spare 3 gold.
Since when were you able to run the numbers of something like that so quickly?
Well,
I didn't even give you a
Well.
ballpark number to work with.
Well, you know, you suppose things. Like, for example, platinum is worth more than gold.
Yes, but here's the thing. 3 is a very specific number.
Honestly, it's probably a rough estimate. After all, I mean, we spent how much gold at the stores and shops and various vendors? 3 gold seems expensive, but not when we compare it to the things we spent our money on. Minuscule.
Yes, but we're spending our money on magical items. Items of
Right.
much greater power and value that most people can't afford to begin with, even among nobility.
Right,
We're
except...
we're also hunting for practical use, not showcasing.
Hmm, I see your point. But surely, maybe I learned it from the grimoire or something. Either way,
Right, that's a bold-faced lie, but I'll roll with it.
I'm not trying to lie. I genuinely have no idea. I'm just spitballing here.
It's okay if the
trying-
voices in your head are telling you things, as long as it's not to murder us.
Stab, stab,
No.
stab, stab.
That, no, I don't think the voices, and he puts air quotes with his claws, is telling me to go on a murder spree anytime soon.
Kill them
However-
all.
Swear to God! I swear to God! Okay, Peter. I see you, Peter.
So I guess now anybody who's watching or in chat, or even anyone, even the players who are like trying to say kill them all, it's just like all that Rari hears is just kill them.
No, he doesn't hear that.
No,
Not
anyway,
yet.
But Rob
Not
does
yet.
hear
Yet.
kill them all.
give me some credit here, Cyrus. I'm not that crazy. See, it's fine.
Oh, that's funny. That is really funny.
Rari is
I'm already laughing for Donovan Pierre.
Rari is reasonably sane. After all, I
Reasonably.
could read a book. And reading is a valuable skill.
Red scribbles.
I read a book. Anyway,
Identified by multiple people as scribbles. I'm pretty sure Greeny identified them as scribbles too.
Anywho, 3 gold guesstimation, if not the grimoire, if not the voices, if not anything really. But
You actually do hear the voices in your head.
What if the voices are my own thoughts?
Doesn't
Anywho.
everyone? Asks Little Flame.
Exactly.
You can't understand
My
him.
dang it, going insane. All right.
You hear
We'll
Little
see.
Flame speak Pyric, and you hear Rari respond as if he understood. That happens. Cyrus, you may react to that if you choose.
We'll save. I'm assuming.
Huh?
We'll save.
Oh no, you
Rari?
auto-fail for that shit.
Wonderful. All right. What's the consequence?
The consequence is whatever Cyrus's reaction is.
Oh dear God.
What in the flying fuck did you just say in Pyric? A language you clearly did not understand until now?
Oh, quick context, Cyrus. He didn't say it in Pyric. He said it in Common, but he clearly understood Little
Right.
Flame, who was speaking in
I
Pyric.
gestured. I
Right.
gestured to, like, I could see it being like Rory gestures to
Yeah.
Little Flame. He's like, exactly. I don't understand a word he's
So-
saying, and yet here I am.
And yet here you are understanding every word he just said. And responding appropriately to that.
I will concede maybe there is another voice in my head. That being
And
said,
that you're going clinically crazy because apparently it taught you how to understand the elemental language of fire.
Little Flame
We
just
can't
shrugs
talk
and is
about
like, I'm happy to
that.
finally have someone else to understand me.
oh. Anyway,
you're
I'm not going.
in ice.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. But it's just like, oh, why did he have to say that? Because now Rari's like, or at least Robert's like, oh, now I should learn Pyric. Because, you know, I accidentally understood Pyric. I may as well learn the language at this point.
To cover the tracks of being insane.
Anywho, a minor lapse of mind is nothing to worry about,
That
Cyrus.
is quite literally what most people call insanity.
No, insanity is much more than just a minor lapse. It's major. Don't.
It starts
I
with
mean-
minor lapses.
eh, So does the trauma of going on the streets. And
Which you clearly overcome.
I
So,
honestly thought you were about to
now
say
that that's
so
out of
does
the
a
way.
heart attack.
and yeah, honestly,
That is
right?
insane!
Honestly, that too. Um, heck, with all the sick people in that penitentiary we visited trying to find your household, it's pretty reasonable to assume.
Robert, you
lapses
guys
of-
never actually went in, you just stood outside the building.
Yeah, no, I know that. That's what he's explaining. For a penitentiary of that size,
Fine.
Rari is aware he's not stepped foot inside. But he figures big building holds big amounts of people. Various sicknesses or things.
Reasons to be
Penitentiaries,
hospitalized.
Reasons to be hospitalized. Yeah, so minor lapses
realize
or
you
major
visited-
lapses.
You realize you visited the hospital, not the asylum, right?
Hospital,
There's a
a place
difference
to
between
treat
physical...
people who are unwell, right?
There's a difference between physical injury and mental injury.
Yes, I suppose. Whether the mental
Get treatment for a
injuries
physical
or
infection from from a cut on your arm, but we can't heal the psychic boo-boos that come with that.
so, let's for clear.
Not at a hospital.
You get into physical trouble, you get hurt, you go to that place. Then what happens if you have the mental
If you have-
boo-boos?
If you have recurring nightmares,
You get a therapist.
and you get a therapist. If the voices in your head are telling you to kill people, you get locked away in a place specialized to handle the crazy.
Okay. So there are various stages of treatment for different illnesses, yes? Minor lapses of the mind don't necessarily warrant extreme forces like, well, as you mentioned, the place where big mental boo-boos, as it were to go.
Hearing the voices kind of counts as a big.
It's not as big. It's
The
just
only time it's
one.
not big is when it's possession, which is its own issue.
Little Flame kind of
possession
speaks
is a
up.
big-
Oop, go ahead, Rory.
Possession could be a big problem for sure. Having witnessed ghosts.
Little Flame kind of
What?
speaks up and just goes, "I'm possessed."
Yes, you are. Just pat him on the top of the pumpkin.
Are you
Yes,
saying
you are
this in
definitely possessed.
common, Cyrus, or no?
No, he is saying this in Pyric. Little Flame
okay.
knows.
Because Little Flame knows common, but it's very broken and childlike,
Right.
so he can't properly
He's-
articulate something like possessed.
Right. Right.
Just assume
Okay.
that if Little Flame is speaking big words, he's not speaking common.
Fair enough, because sometimes I cannot
Big-
distinguish.
Big word
I'm gonna be real.
equals
As
requires
Robert
pronunciation.
and Rory, I'm like, I have not picked up on that for a good portion of this campaign. So now that
Yeah,
I
it's
know that,
a wonder why you're making will saves in relation to Pyric.
yeah. But in any case, so
The road to insanity is
I
paved with
promise
apparently
you.
the language of fire.
I promise you, I'm not gonna go off the rocker to the point where I need to go to one of those buildings.
I think most people who work in one of those buildings would probably already say you're off your rocker. Being able to read scribbles, understanding a whole language out of nowhere.
You see, now that
With
is
no
called
training in it.
that's called being studious.
To just simply understand a language with no training is not being stupid.
I
To learn a
read that
language-
book many days.
That book is full of scribbles beyond the first, 2-3 pages?
It's a book. That's what smart people read, right?
We read
And if I wanna be-
words
Yes, and there are words in the book.
until it becomes scribbles.
I love this conversation.
But in any case, we're burning precious time. Let's just get to positions so that if something goes awry, they don't really like the sale that or the sales pitch, I can have a way out. Whether that is Duzon knocking gently on the door and taking me away or something.
Now, when you say gently, do you mean gently by our standards, or gently as in the standard that he walked through a solid steel door?
Whatever gently means enough to be a distraction to get me away from the bad situation.
So, walking through the steel door.
Yeah, sure. As long as it hopefully doesn't provide any injuries to the poor victim. Alright. So where to, Cyrus? Knowing that you have parleyed or talked to nobles before, you know relatively where servants' quarters might be.
Does he
Or
know?
at the very least, the general direction to the castle in the center of town.
I think you just answered your own question on that one, but The castle in the center of the town. I wonder where the castle is.
Well, he is a very special person, okay? He's trying his best.
This keeps evolving by the moment.
Yeah, and I know that by Donovan's silence, this is very intriguing to him. Which is
It's entertaining. It's very entertaining.
both scary and real at the same time, which is concerning, to say the
He's
least.
already
Yeah.
expressed once about being very entertained by how this has gone.
Yeah. So anyway,
No, Rari, you want to know what's scary?
oh god, what?
This song.
You just gave him ideas. Thanks, you made him have ideas. Oh, yep, that's on. Yep, that'll do
Oh
it.
gosh, wait, I don't. Oh no, no, no! Oh, come on.
That, I'm not gonna
Duzon.
lie, that was getting Family Guy Cleveland falling out of the second floor in his bathtub.
No,
Peter.
no, 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 no.
No. You
It
heard
was
that,
giving that
right?
so hard.
You heard that, right, Peter? Out of character, Loki. Did you hear that theme song?
What theme song?
Oh,
Yes,
gosh,
Peter.
roll the clip, bro.
Yes, Peter, I love you.
I don't know what's going on.
He actually wasn't paying attention, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he
Oh
wasn't.
my god, he's spaced out.
At least for that little bit.
Alright, so you want to
Yo,
know
did
the
you try
context,
that
Peter?
this
You
one?
want to know the context?
Please.
Rari's like, that's scary that Donovan's this quiet. And I'm like, you want to know what's scary? This.
Oh no. I remember this.
Donovan is currently entertained.
Oh, his silence. Oh.
Do you not hear this? Do you not hear this, Peter?
Is it in the roll 20 or something?
It is in
Yes.
the roll 20.
Oh gosh, if you're not on roll 20, you won't hear
No, he
it.
is.
Oh. You remember this, right? Out of character, you remember what this means, right? Right.
Yep. Now I know you wouldn't be, how you would say, ambitious enough to put someone of that caliber into this situation.
I have stat blocks for many occasion, Peter.
Oh,
And that is a
no.
that is a very clear threat.
No.
That is not even thinly veiled. That is extremely clear.
Oh,
Okay.
Donnie,
No.
at the end of this session, nope, there are nightmares associated with that noise.
No, I can play
I do
you.
not have the proper context.
I can play you several themes that have characters
Will
tied
traumatize
to
them?
them.
Oh, I was just gonna ask. It's going to traumatize Robert.
Well, this will traumatize
Oh.
Peter more than anybody. If it'll play.
Please play so that I'm not the only one terrified out of my gills.
It will not play. Alright, so I'll have to fix that later. Let's go with this instead. Do. This one.
Oh yeah, that.
God of War.
Yeah, but you remember...
that would
No,
inspire.
Peter, you remember what you specifically used this for in the Dark Matter campaign, right?
Oh yeah, this was Cleep's like intro song, like WWE intro song.
Stuff of nightmares, ladies and gentlemen.
And I know what campaign I used this in. I used this in one of my campaigns when they fought a storm giant.
And then there's this song that also has a... This song also has a character tied to it as well.
Yes, we are aware of who this song is tied to.
The non-flashbacks are real.
It is the character we are currently trying to fight.
Currently trying to open a can of whoop ass on top of.
Alright,
Yeah.
now that you are all together and done discussing your plan, is Cyrus, you're gonna...
And Cyrus has gone back and forth with Rari over Rari's very displayed insanity now.
My question to you, Cyrus, is are you going to assist Rari in obtaining a butler/servant outfit?
He asked me if I even knew where the servants' quarters would be.
I'm gonna go with no.
To which I was about to say, to which I'm going to most likely answer no, but I was going to double ask to be like, unless I actually would know.
I'm gonna go with no, mainly because
Silver spoons.
Silver Spoon, you hung out with nobility. You don't bother learning about the servants because you don't even think about the servants.
They are there. I treat them cordially. I don't give them I try to give them a little grief because I know they are trying to survive. End of story. We try to be a decent person to them, and it kind of ends there.
Okay.
Right. I did not give you an answer.
No. I'm just trying to figure out. Again, he's processing the fact that he briefly understood Pyric.
Mm-hmm.
That he also found out the magic number 3 for some reason. This has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Right, well, I don't really know where the servants' quarters actually is in the castle.
So, no idea.
Like I would suggest, just follow the servants. Somewhere they all have to go at some point.
Okay.
Whether that's at the end of the day to pick up their belongings, or at the start of the day to change into their uniforms.
Right. Well, I guess we would just go towards the center of the city then, and if we should happen upon servants of the castle, maybe I can follow them towards nightfall.
Which couldn't
As long as I
theoretically
could
be too
spot a
hard.
gnome, or someone similar to my height and size, and we follow them offer a price for spirit uniform, and then I make my adjustments, make a good disguise, and be
And if it goes
ready for
if it
whenever.
goes very well, then we should be done before that council meeting. Easily, at least.
Right, it's just a matter of getting everything ready. So that's where Rari is headed towards.
I love how no one's actually discussed like how we're gonna get Little Flame in, but I feel like the answer's very obvious.
What do you think the answer is?
I can literally just say he's a familiar as an elemental magic user from a predominantly magical family.
Fair enough.
It's not it is it's a lie, but also it's so convincing it may as well be true.
It's a very believable lie that'll maybe succeed amongst non-magical people. That'll be like, oh, that's cool. Can you do any real fire magic?
Oh no, I can see that going terribly.
Well, I can't do fire, but I can counter lightning.
Wait, if you can't do fire, then how do you have a fire-based elemental familiar?
The wood.
The wood.
So I can conjure wood. I can do wood. So I can get halfway there.
TLDR, I feed him. Wood.
TLDR, I feed him.
TLDR, rift opened between worlds, fire plane happened, familiar thing also happened at the same time, and it kind of created a crossover. Too much energy from one place mixed with an energy that was actually compatible.
Fair enough. Alright, so Rari, you are going... Sorry?
There we have it. There we have it.
And there we have it. And did you had Sal, folks. Rari, you are going to make your way to the castle to try and find the servants' quarters?
Yep.
And are you doing this on your own?
I would prefer if Duzon and Cyrus would come. But that's completely up to them.
Duzon, Cyrus, are you joining Rari on his mission to infiltrate the castle, get to the servants' quarters, and steal an outfit?
Or even just track down and track down one of the servants at night.
Liberate an
Would it be
outfit.
Would it be wise for me to do so? Because the animal forms, should I use them, only last, like...
Well, remember, Cyrus does not know you have how your access is going to work. He just is assuming that the temple likely helped you find some way in.
Right.
He doesn't have specifics.
Because you didn't tell
Cyrus
him.
doesn't. I do.
Which he did, which no one has told him yet exactly what the specifics are.
So, yeah, Duzon's gonna perk up and pull out his little amethyst rune of animal form. And he, explains,
This rune, for 3 times, it'll let me turn into a sizable creature, an animal, for a minute each time. Hopefully it'll give me some sort of way to go inside. How, I am not sure yet.
The real goal, if I'm being honest, not necessarily to track the servants' quarters.
Does the cast have like an aviary, or messenger bird room in the higher up floors?
Very likely. This is the central political center for the entire faction.
You can turn into an animal. You could turn into a bird and go up to the castle rooftops. There should be a room where all the messenger birds meet up there.
Hello, fellow birds.
It would only be for a minute. I might not even make it into the room before I transform back.
Well, if you fly quick, and you start from, say, the castle walls, you should make it in pretty quickly.
And once I'm in, then I transfer back into this
That's
form.
a different story.
What's to stop anyone from from detecting me?
That's a bit of a different issue. Have you thought about, like, turning into, say, a cat? Or something that can easily wander the halls and not get suspicious?
I could, but I only have 3 uses of this thing before it becomes a regular gemstone.
Okay.
Each transformation is only a minute. I could barely do anything with a minute.
That's not true.
A minute is not enough time for me to go without being detected.
In his mind.
In Duzon's mind.
So here's the thing. If I can get to one of their houses outside of the castle walls, or at least the initial castle itself, right?
Or even simply catch one at the gates.
Or catch one at the gates, that would be more preferable than me going into the servants' quarters, provided that I could even sneak in and find it. Because if I go to what I believe to be the servants' quarters, and it's the guards' barracks, I'd be in extreme trouble. And if I do find successfully the servants' quarters, these are folks, and Cyrus, please do correct me if I'm wrong, if the servants' quarters is in fact there, and I find it, these are more prominent servants that live within the castle itself.
Only
Right.
only a certain few would be living in castle. Head chef, head butler, and maid. The people who tend to manage the larger amounts of the rest. So the chef that oversees the whole kitchen, the butler that most of the common butlers are going to turn to when something very important goes wrong.
Okay.
Those
So-
are the ones that would live in castle. I would not recommend posing as them because that means you'd have to assume their managerial positions to maintain a
And-
convincing disguise.
Right, so I wouldn't, and Rari, I myself do not know how to cook, properly at least. That I leave to Granny.
Or handle the
those-
issues
those
of the nobility because they can
Right.
get quite petty.
Oh, I mean, if they're anything like the elves that we met at the Necrostorm with Duzon and I,
Unless you know how to play politics to keep as many parties happy as possible.
I know how to possibly wound politics.
In
Not
this case,
necess-
you'd be trying to keep them from unraveling themselves at the seams.
Right. So, just merely finding a few servants to follow and ask if they have a spare uniform would be the most preferred option. So,
Which most likely they do.
but if they put up any resistance whatsoever, like I think they would, because uniforms like that don't come cheap, I don't think.
Be surprised. They have to be accessible to people who can't really afford them. That's why those jobs exist.
Right. But again, personal belongings tend to be more worth.
I'm almost sure that there's probably several extras laying around even in the servants' quarters, simply because things do go missing, things do tear.
And so, which brings me to my final point. I would like you guys to come with, in case something goes south. You guys can possibly bail me out. If, say, a purchase doesn't go the way it needs to go.
If you
I don't-
simply just wait at the gates, I'm sure you'll be able to find a buyer. Provided the guards aren't looking specifically at you, which you could easily just walk around a corner for.
Who? Would servant, you wouldn't necessarily know, right? Given your lifestyle, you'd probably
I
not
only
know
know
if
so much.
would you say it's likely they get scared if they looked at someone like me?
That
That's
probably
the-
more depends on what part of town they grew up in.
Okay, so
I
ranging
would say that's
from
more-
less likely to not very likely.
Yes, which is to say, it could literally be any reaction.
Wonderful. Again, why I need you guys to watch, or to keep a decent distance. Far away enough to not be noticed, but close enough that if I scream
I
for
would
help...
honestly say they'd probably more likely be scared of Duzon standing in the corner staring, or myself being actually someone of status.
So, yeah,
I'd say
so-
you'd be probably the smallest threat in their mind, provided you go up and actually be approachable instead of looking completely like someone who's going to rob them for everything they have, for what little they do have.
right. Again, so are you guys okay with coming, but keeping a earshot's distance, or at least somewhere close to where if you see me run, you guys could potentially help me get away?
It's either that
not,
or
I'm gonna do
help
this.
find a route that Duzon can take quickly to get to the council chamber.
And ideally that he doesn't use his gem until absolutely necessary.
Well, he'd be using it to get in, so he'd only have 2 more usages of the ability after that. So I would need to get a route that can get him from the walls to the chamber within 3 minutes.
That's when we do have everything in place to infiltrate and all of that is.
Exactly, and I would need to be able to help plan him a route, since
And
he
I
does
would-
not know the inside of the castle, I'm assuming.
And I would also need time to curtail the outfit. So do we have the plan? Is that what we're sticking with?
I guess so.
Alright. So if you guys would be so kind. And he and Cyrus and Duzon, once they see the castle gates leading into the most inner parts of the castle, that's where Rari would say to them to stay with it so that they could see what Rari is doing, but away enough to where no one would really pay attention to them.
Keep
Or they just
enough
look
of a
and watch it.
distance to have plausible deniability.
Exactly.
Like, do you know this servant? No, we have no idea. We've never seen him before in my life.
Correct. Because again, Rari never dealt with upper crusts or the servants of upper crusts, so.
Alright, so how are you approaching this, Rari? Are you just casually walking up to the castle, or are you trying to sneak in?
I'm going to casually walk near or around the gates, kind of feigning like some wayward tourist of some kind. Just so that, the guards don't think I'm trying to get into the gates or any further to the castle without authority.
Maybe Rari should have taken a bath before starting this up.
And the peasant stink, I'm sure, is pretty common.
Okay. So you are trying to... I want to say impersonate, right? You're trying to impersonate someone who's not from around here?
Right. I'm basically trying to serve. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep a watchful eye and see if someone that I could approach, one of the other servants, particularly the gnome servants, are around or planning to leave for the night. Something like that.
Okay, as you're walking around, let me make a percentile check.
Ooh, that's kind of terrifying, but okay.
Percentile is luck.
I know, and Rari has very little, though not zero luck.
I'm not sure if you can hear the clacking through my microphone, but I'm attempting.
Oh, I hear it. And I hear the thud of it too.
Okay. As you're walking around the outer gates / castle, you actually see. This was actually very lucky for you. You actually see a female gnome kind of burst out of like the doors and run to the other side of the gate and then just kind of slump against the wall and just start like kind of softly crying as they just rub their eye, like, you know, wipe the tears from their face.
Oh.
They are wearing a maid outfit, essentially.
Fair enough. Rari would see this sort of in distress and approach and kind of just kind of say, is everything alright?
Can you say that again?
Is everything alright?
She kind of looks up and just stops crying for a second. She's like, I was fired today. I don't know how I'm gonna feed my family. This was the only job I had. And she kind of like wipes her face a little bit more.
You were fired for what cause?
Does that matter?
Not really. But I can only imagine the damage that it feels to be rejected from your job.
I don't give a shite about this stupid bleeding blighter of a job. I care about my family and how I'm supposed to provide for them, you bloody idiot.
Well, my apologies for misunderstanding the situation. I was wondering. I might be able to help you with that, actually. I might not be able to get your livelihood back in terms of that profession, but I could use some help. I'm looking for a sort of butler outfit or spare that I could tailor. You see, I'm learning about becoming a butler and such, supporting my own family. I suppose, and he pulls out 3 pieces of gold. If you could help me find an outfit that I could use to maybe flatter this frame of mine, to maybe get a shot in.
She kind of wipes her nose and takes the end of her bonnet and just kind of like wipes her eyes. You know what? I don't care what your reason is. I really don't. But I don't work for this place anyhow anymore. So screw it. You want a uniform? 3 gold? What's that? 5 months pay? It's yours.
Much appreciated. And for the trouble, he puts 5 more gold out.
She kind of takes it, just like, okay. And she kind of, wait here. I'll be back in about, I don't know how long, probably 20 minutes. And she walks away, and you see as she enters, like a housing complex that's not too far, like from the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 15 minutes later, she walks back out and like hands you a very moderately nice enough male butler servant uniform.
Thank you. This will do wonderfully.
My husband won't be needing it. He's on injured leave. And she kind of rolls her eyes as she turns around and starts to walk away.
Well, that about does it. And he kind of neatly folds the uniform and puts it away in his bag. Then he makes his way towards the direction of Duzon and Cyrus.
Alright, and as you regroup together, that is where I'm going to end this session.
Alright.
Sweet.
Okay, we got one of you. We got one of you in properly. Now we just have to fix the other half of Duzon's.
Yep.
Which that's more on me than it is on Duzon.
Yeah.
Are you gonna try and claim that Duzon is also your familiar?
They cannot get away with that one.
He is a
You cannot.
he is
I am a
is,
straight up avatar of a god, buddy.
Well, that,
I
well, they won't know that, but the problem is that you're completely sentient and can actively display sentience. That's the problem. That's not a familiar. That is not a familiar.
So
We
is
are
Little
so-
Flame. Little Flame can also actively display sentience.
Yes, but they can't physically understand Little Flame now, can they?
That's true.
yeah.
And Little Flame does not appear humanoid either, so Little Flame has that going for him. That's how I can get Little Flame in. He literally does not look like a human.
Yeah, he's a pumpkin
From a-
with a body made of vines.
From a distance, Duzon can look human.